Welcome to Ingenomics. The highlight of the 2024 budget is its frontal steps to increase formal employment and to skill the youth so they become employable. As per Reserve Bank and recent economic survey data, the country has 64.3 crore employed people, of whom 57% are self-employed and 18% are working as unpaid workers in their own household units. Casual labor comprises another nearly 22%, and regular salaried workers are just about 20.9% of the total workforce, and this last category has not been growing. Accordingly, the budget has announced 3 schemes. Scheme A, government will provide a 1-month wage to all newly persons entering the workforce in all formal sectors. The new employee who will show up in the EPFO will be paid directly through a direct benefit transfer, 1 month's salary in 3 installments. Maximum amount they'll be paid is 15,000 rupees per person. Eligibility limit will be only a person whose salary is less than 1 lakh a month, and the scheme is expected to benefit about 2 crore young people over a 2-year period. The second scheme is only for manufacturing companies where both employer and employee benefit. The companies must hire at least 50 first-timers or 25% of their previous year's EPFO employed employees. Government will pay between 8 and 24% of the newcomer's salary, and that money will be shared between the employer and the employee. The idea being that the company is incurring a cost in training the newcomer, and that subsidy is being paid. It will be paid for 4 years. The third scheme involves a subsidy only for the employers, the companies. Government will reimburse the companies the EPFO contribution that they make towards the new employee up to 3,000 rupees a month. And this is also applicable for employees who are already in the EPFO bracket, and the salary should not exceed 1 lakh rupees. And like I told you, it's applicable even if the person is already employed. And then you have another scheme, which is not exactly an employment scheme. It is more a skilling scheme. And there, the company can use its CSR funds to skill the employees. Okay, it's an incentive for the top 500 companies to use their CSR funds to provide internship opportunities, not employment, for the youth. The internship will be for 1 year, when the intern will get an allowance of 5,000 rupees per month to be paid by the government, along with another assistance of 6,000 rupees per employee. So the government basically will give the companies 54,000 rupees per year per employee. Company can pay another 6,000 rupees per month from its own CSR funds. The scheme just aims to cover about 1 crore young people in 5 years. And of course, we have to admit that all these 4 schemes are not going to solve the employment problem. But in a country where 57% are self-employed, 18% are in unpaid family jobs, these schemes will hopefully increase the number of formal or salaried employees. Now, what India's experience has been is that when the government focuses on something, usually the entire ecosystem, corporate sector, formal sector, civil society, all of them concentrate, and hopefully the companies will take benefit of this. But let's ask the companies themselves. I have with me an elite panel representing 3 different sectors. Sangeeta Reddy of Apollo Hospitals to speak about health services. Ravi Kairan of Bajaj Auto to speak about the manufacturing vertical. Richard Lobo of Tech Mahindra, excellent results just presented. And of course, a very, very big employer, the IT companies. Amit Basoli is a specialist in employment economics, professor of economics from the Azim Premji University. Gentlemen and Sangeeta, thank you very much indeed for your time. And this is a very, very important discussion. Sangeeta, you go first. 3 schemes, at least 2 of them, you're not in manufacturing. Scheme A and Scheme C directly benefit you. Will it make your company just go for a little more employment rather than outsource or keep them informal?
So clearly, Latha, these are good schemes. I think we need to prefix this with the fact that healthcare is among the world's largest employers. I don't know if our focus will be to employ more people, because we anyway have to employ as many as we need. I think the focus is really for us to look at how can we enhance the number of people that we train and look at the global workforce shortage. So we are already in skilling. We train or skill about 85,000 people a year. We skill for our own internal requirements as well as for the industry, as well as for the globe. So these are very good schemes. We will definitely be utilizing them and studying further how we can enhance the employment we make, how we can ensure that these people are placed well in good jobs. And in the immediate, I think any aspects of transferring people from outsourced jobs to internal is being studied. So
Okay.
overall, I think it's some good opportunities opening up, and we will definitely be exploring them and using them.
Okay, okay. That's good to hear. Ravi Kairan, for manufacturing. You know, there is this story about how Bharat Forge actually had a lot of unskilled employers, some 2,000 of them, and then they went robotics and only employed engineers, and then it became an international company. You know, manufacturing just moved towards more capital intensive and not labor intensive. So, given that, do you think this scheme will move the needle for you in particular?
So, I want to echo what Sangeeta said. This is clearly schemes in the right direction. I think overall, when we look at it, it looks quite promising. Of course, devil is always in the details. We'll have to read through a lot of this. We'll have to figure out some of the small prints in that and try to understand that scheme and how it would actually get implemented. But in manufacturing sector as a whole, if I were to look at it, especially when we talk about Bajaj Auto, there are at least three of these schemes which will directly be beneficial to us. Both Scheme B, which is job creation and manufacturing, as well as Scheme C, would be quite applicable to us. There are, of course, caps which come into play. A company of our size, of our salary levels, it doesn't mean that it will actually impact all the employees. But yeah, there will be definitely, for the first time, entrant into workforce, as well as people who are joining in from directly from colleges at the entry level. They are surely bound to benefit out of the scheme, assuming, of course, some of the clarity that we need comes by. For example, there's a line which says that the refund has to happen to the government if the employment were to get terminated within
Yep.
12 months. Now, we don't know what this means, right? So if an employee were to resign, for example, for higher studies, or they want to do something else, would then the employer have to refund it? Or is it only if the employer were to reduce force? What if there are, other issues if some employee were to abscond? So I think these are things which needs to get clarified. I hope that when they are framing the rules, a lot of these inputs are taken into consideration, and we are able to frame the rules which make it actually more inclusive and beneficial and doesn't become penalizing. But overall, I must say this is absolutely in the right direction. And when we look at internship scheme as Bajaj Auto, our primary...
1 minute, Ravi, I'll come to the internship scheme because that requires, it'll apply to all of you all, and that I think looks very promising. I'll just come to you in a minute. Richard, the IT sector was the biggest employer, and we got a heart attack last time when the top 5 Nifty companies, the total employment went down by 60,000. That was the first year we heard that. Do you think this will make you, you won't mind putting more people on the bench? Within 1 lakh a month, you will have a large number of employees in that category.
Thank you, Latha. I don't think it's necessarily about the bench or the numbers. I think it's a bold step forward. I think it's for the first time companies are being encouraged to have people, and the government is directly intervening. So I think it's a very fantastic step, because in the next 10, 15 years, India is going to have a demographic dividend. And by investing in skill building of the youth, you're going to have people who are skilled and who are able to take advantage of the need for the next level or the next generation of skills. And you have so many new technologies happening, and there is always a shortage of people who are skilled in this area. So I think this initiative by the government will spur companies to focus on skill building. Now, whether this is an immediate employment or investment for the future, I think it's a bigger thing is the investment.
So you are referring to the CSR scheme in that case, Richard?
No, I'm referring to the
scheme ABC.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the larger idea that the government is doing several things to encourage building skills, right? It's a combination of 3 or 4 things that they have done together. I do agree that many of the details need to be worked out. But I think this is a focus on the youth, the focus on the demographic dividend this country holds to get for the future.
Yeah.
And I think this is an investment in the future. I think we should see it more as an investment for the future than get worried about the detailing.
Absolutely. Investment, all right. But, I'll come back to you all. Ultimately, you employ people only if there is bang for the buck. So there is an economy question there. There's a demand question. Amit, what would your first take be? Economy has to grow for jobs, but this push is worthwhile?
Right. So, exactly right, Latha. I mean, I think, if we think about what is the imagination behind such a policy as to what are the main constraints that exist, right? And there's a nice article, actually, today's Hindu, an interview by the Finance Secretary, T.V. Somnathan, lays out very nicely what the thinking behind such a thing is. That we believe that if we were to nudge employers a little bit, subsidize the wages a little bit, then they are willing to hire. It's just costs that are at the margin stopping them. Right? And at the margin is the key part, that this is not about a big structural shift. It's about just relaxing those constraints a little bit. Who are these employers that we think are constrained in this fashion? And I think, we just don't understand enough about this. There isn't enough research. I should point out that the idea has been around for a while. The Rozgar Protsahan Yojana has been in the works has been on the ground for a few years. And it's exactly this kind of EPFO linked subsidy type of scheme. But there have been no systematic studies that tell us, does employment on net actually increase when something like this is offered? My instinct is that this will work where, as you said, demand is not a big problem, where employers are constrained by these kinds of costs, whether it's cost of onboarding a new employee, seeing through that transition period, and those will be smaller employers. They will not be big companies, is my gut feeling, MSMEs in particular. So it will work to the extent that we target it towards the smaller PFO database employers, where it's a genuine cost for them and a risk to take with a new person. I have them for 6 months. It's not turning out to be a good idea. I've lost a significant part of, my revenue. So that's my initial take on it.
I guess there is a cost that comes with formality. And actually, Manish Sabarwal was on the channel saying that when he's in a staffing company, team leads, and the employee normally asks, "Sab kaun sa salary? Chitti wala salary ya haath mein milega salary?" So, that the taking away that EPFO hurts. And he says if that is reimbursed and the employee gets that much more, 15,000 plus the EPFO amount, he will probably stay. But Sangeeta, the other thing, incidentally, Amit Somanathan explained that in great detail even on CNBC TV18. And his point is, government can't handhold for internship. And very often, companies also don't know what to do with the CSR funds. They give it in charity and stuff like that. Here we are giving them an opportunity where they can skill. Sangeeta, now let me come to that CSR part which Ravi was alluding to. You think that you can use your CSR funds better in this fashion, or companies in general will?
So honestly, Latha, I think that our CSR funds for this year are already committed. You have people with an expectation of what you're going to do with your CSR funds. We support rural healthcare, etc. But this is definitely a scheme that we will bake into next year's CSR funds. However, I do want to say that the entire aspect of having an apprentice and having them supported has a double benefit. It is immediate employment benefit. It is also the aspect of training and skilling while on the job, which is even better than some of the earlier schemes of classroom skilling. So I see this as one of the most valuable schemes that have been put forth. And I think that we would actually reach out to other large companies saying, would you like to help healthcare people come in and support their apprenticeship using your CSR funds? So I'm definitely our organization will be pursuing all aspects, but this one in particular. I do want to add, I think it's a very important thing that all of us are changing the skills required in our organization. So for us, imagine you have a theater technician. Now I need a theater technician who knows how to handle the robotic surgery machine. So this is a perfect place to put an apprentice and ask the company who supplied the equipment to use their CSR funds to support his wages. So I think we're really thinking through how we can use this to enhance employment and enhance skills.
Okay. Okay, at least one lesson I'm getting from at least a couple of you is that maybe this scheme should start ticking from next year, because we have only 6 months to the next budget. And by the time the rules come in, we may lose the first year altogether. So perhaps an extension is definitely called for of the scheme. But more ideas are needed from this elite panel. I'm back in a minute after a break.